Hey-oh.
Hey.
Yeah. I don't feel like we do this show anymore.
I know, it feels like it's been a while. We cut it down to twice a week, and it feels like
Why?
we never
Who told us to do that? Live from an ESG winter shack. It's the ESG industry's only weekly woke data podcast featuring analyst Matt Moscardi. Yeah!
And still, no clarification.
Do you think we're the only ESG-related show that has any energy at all? Do they hate us for our energy? Is that why they hate us?
Does anybody say that we're like an ESG-related show? I mean, we are, but we don't even
well, we
advertise
say
that.
we are.
Yeah.
In today's ESG heartburn called December 6th, 2023, my favorite headline so far this week and Matt's anti-ESG, anti-woke data wars update.
Yeah. That's nice and succinct. I like it.
Yeah,
when
thank
you're
you. Our
succinct.
show today is being sponsored by FreeFlow Analytics, the only ESG data platform to measure real board influence and diversity power gaps.
Does both of those things. Does a lot of things. If you're an activist and you want to get rid of crappy board members, you want some ammunition. If you're a company and you want to evaluate your board member, it does all the things. It really does all the things.
One of my new favorite things to do as an analyst, I'm still an analyst, of course, is when I'm looking at a company, one of the first things I like to look at is what is the female power gap. I really am interested because it for some reason I think it just tells me something. I don't know. It gives
like
me
immediately.
It gives me a sense of the culture up top, where when women not only are represented by actually being on the board, but they have actual power. I don't know. It's informing to me. It should be informing to everybody.
Gives you a cultural tickle. Let's do whatever you're doing next. I don't even
favorite headline so far this week.
That's a segment.
This is stupid. But I like letting the headlines tell a story. This is a bit of a nod to our Nuggets segment that we don't do very often.
I miss Nuggets. Let's do that again.
We can get that going. Here we go.
Let's do it on Friday.
My favorite vague business news headline of the week so far. Okay, we'll see. I'll tell you the headline. You can see where I'm going with this.
All right.
McDonald's Investor Day will feature possible updates on multiple key topics. Can you imagine? That's the headline.
Who wrote that headline?
It's from
exactly?
Fox Business.
Can you imagine being the editor of that headline and being like, nah, we're being a little too specific?
I'm going to say that one again because actually this headline is the only reason why I put together this whole segment for today's show. McDonald's Investor Day will feature possible updates on multiple key topics. That's every Investor Day in the history of the corporate world, by the way.
But it's not even will feature updates. It's possible updates. It actually is possible that there are no updates on any topics.
Let's stay with McDonald's for 1 second for my next one. My favorite, do you think maybe we concentrate on the wrong things as a culture headline of the week so far?
Oh.
McDonald's plans to expand its burger empire by an unprecedented good talking, Damien. 10,000 new stores over the next 4 years.
Oh, that's not a good idea.
So
if
you're busy worrying about all the bullshit in COP28, like, how about this headline? Earth on the verge of 5 catastrophic climate tipping points, according to scientists. If you worry about all that bullshit, why don't you just focus on McDonald's building 10,000 stores?
That's a lot of burgers. That's a lot of burgers.
My favorite meaningless corporate governance headline of the week so far.
I'm into this.
Disney CEO Bob Iger will definitely step down in 2026. Succession process robust.
Oh,
I mean, but how many times have we heard this, though, right?
I like that the definitely was in quotes.
Yeah, and like robust too. Robust too.
And robust.
I mean, what the hell are they going to do over there? They're going to have to find a superstar, I bet, right? None of this Chapek nonsense.
Didn't they bring in the 2 new board members because Gorman is like
James Gorman, Morgan Stanley CEO,
but
who's about to step down, by the way.
They're saying he masterfully is handing off this
to Ted Pick.
Except that he had basically a competition amongst his top lieutenants for the job.
Squid Game.
Gives one of them the job, but pays the other ones the exact same amount of money because he felt bad. That's how he did it. So not, yeah. Okay.
My favorite, can we get this data in the proxy headline of the week so far? I love disclosure. Jeff Bezos leaves Seattle with empire of 8 properties, including 5 we just discovered. I would love this. I would love to get what properties all the directors own. I would love that.
Wow. Yeah. I met with the great Sarah Teslick the other day. Mm-hmm. She was one of the founders of CII. And she was saying if there was a way that we could capture data, like do directors tip their wait
Sarah,
staff?
I'm with you.
She was like, if you could get that, that would tell you so much more than half of the data you see in a proxy. I was into it.
I wonder with especially with the burgeoning AI industry and big data kind of controlling the world, I wonder if we're not that far away from actually knowing all these things about everybody, right? A constant data flow about the actions of everything we do.
Blah, blah, blah.
How do you feel
How
about
dare you
that?
blah, blah, blah me. My favorite CEO megalomania headline of the week so far. This is a doozy. Abercrombie and Fitch sued by ex-CEO Mike Jeffries for refusing to cover his legal fees after he was accused of running a sex trafficking operation.
Where were they with those legal fees?
Now, he claims because they offered to identify him, as they do all, directors and executives, that they should be paying this lawsuit. And of course, Abercrombie & Fitch is basically saying, go F yourself.
Yeah, what a weird lawsuit. You should have paid my legal fees because you said who I am.
I think what he's
that you have to.
I think the subtext here, Matt, is that because he was running a sex trafficking operation while being CEO at Abercrombie & Fitch, it's on them to pay the legal right.
Oh, that's brilliant.
What a jerk.
Well, look, set the precedent up. You should do all of your illegal activities while CEO because then it's somebody else's problem.
Just like the president, right? Donald Trump.
Brilliant. It's brilliant.
I will say this is yet another advertisement for why what we do here at Free Float is important, because you really ought to know who your CEOs and directors are. I know you think that we do these headlines in jest, and we kind of do, but there's a deeper meaning here, believe it or not.
Look, these are all real headlines, and it's all real analysis, no matter how
I'm not smart enough to make this
delivered.
Up.
Yeah.
My favorite, sorry, that still doesn't give you the right to do your job headline of the week so far. A new report illuminates why OpenAI board said Sam Altman was not consistently candid. So
I don't like this.
So here's the story, Matt. According to the New Yorker, what Sam Altman did, Helen Toner released a research paper basically, saying, AI might ruin the world. And
saw that, yep.
What Sam Altman did was go around to every other board member and basically lie and deceive them about his desire to fire Helen Toner from the board. And the board was pissed because they're like, this dude is basically manipulating and lying to us constantly, and that's one of the reasons why they chose to remove him.
Can I just say though that it does feel like the whole world is shifting to the free float position on this. From the minute the story broke, our position was this sounds like a board that absolutely 100% did their job. That
was
exactly
our knee-jerk reaction. We were strong in on that immediately. And we don't even like boards and directors.
We hate everybody. Forget boards. But that we immediately jumped into that. And then as it unfolded, it looked more and more like that's exactly what happened. And more like this was just about the women. They didn't like the women on the board.
And let's not forget that there was this bizarre structure at OpenAI, still is, where it's a nonprofit, and that's the job of the board is to govern that nonprofit part of the board, right? To keep
correct,
it going. So how about this other headline from Wired magazine? OpenAI signed a letter of intent to invest $51 million in a startup called Rain AI, a company that Sam Altman had already invested in.
Oh, there we go.
I looked at the Rain IA website today. He is one of 2 listed investors. This is what's going on at OpenAI. This is why another reason why I'm sure the board was like, what the F is going on with this dude?
I mean, look, we're gonna as this like unfold. Like this will be a Netflix movie in 4 months, won't it? Like I'm pretty sure it's already been optioned.
Absolutely.
But as this unfolds, we're gonna find out that like Sam Altman might have literally been penting his fingers in the back room somewhere while these women are getting fired and tossed around in the court of public opinion.
There's another. Stay tuned. There's another woman in one of my reportings getting tossed around by a evil tech executive. I'll say that. That's a foreshadowing.
That's so rare.
My favorite tricky, hide the protagonist, manipulative journalism headline of the week so far. Okay.
So far.
Here's the first headline. Here's the manipulative one. Liberal activist shareholders set to sue Smith & Wesson as part of ESG push to cripple gun manufacturers.
Whoa.
So you see what they did there?
That sounds really, yeah.
They wedged in the liberal and ESG. I mean, like pretty masterfully there, okay?
And cripple an
yeah,
industry.
It's true.
Yeah.
But here's the actual headline. Activist nuns with stake in Smith & Wesson sue gunmaker over AR-15 rifles. So that's what's actually happening. It's the sisters, Matt. The sisters are suing a gun manufacturer because they're killing everybody. That's what's
Just
really
a quick
going on.
question,
Nothing to do with ESG. Nothing. Zero.
Just a quick question because I need to clear this up.
Yeah.
Have in the history of humanity nuns ever been categorized as liberal activists?
And I will tell you that first one was from Fox News, so that's how they're manipulating that headline. Yeah. No, never, Matt. Never, ever, 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 ever.
I mean, like we had those stories about nuns hitting our fingers in classes. It's like for what are we talking about?
Yeah. My favorite business news headline of the week so far, where my use of the word favorite is purely sarcastic.
Oh, I like this. This
is back to AI. Due to AI, we are about to enter the era of mass spying. AI will enable a shift from observing actions to interpreting intentions.
So you're talking about Minority Report.
Yeah, exactly. On top of that, Google is finally launching Gemini, its biggest shot at OpenAI. They just announced that this morning. And as a side note, I have a couple side notes for you here. Here's a headline. You'll be astonished how much power it takes to generate a single AI image. According to an upcoming research paper, generating 1,000 images from text prompts generates the carbon emission equivalent of 4 miles driven by an average gasoline-powered passenger vehicle.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Of course.
And as a side note, part 2, the free version of ChatGPT may provide false answers to questions about drugs. Okay, so Long Island University researchers challenged ChatGPT with real drug-related questions over the past year. The chatbot produced responses that were false or incomplete for 29 out of 39 questions.
That's a lot.
So this is what's going on over there in the Sam Altman fetish, we love our CEO world.
My math isn't great, but 29 out of 39 does seem like
pretty
a lot.
bad.
Can I say that, like, of the headlines that you're reading?
I said a lot right there, yeah.
But I don't know how to feel that I feel better that Google is getting in this race. Like, shouldn't I feel bad about that? But, like, now it feels like at least a mature company is there. Like,
well, so are you comparing Google to Microsoft? Because we really think we're seeing Microsoft as, like, the main owner of OpenAI, essentially.
I suppose that's true. It is just Google versus Microsoft. So really so we're really just reliving the past is what you're saying.
All I'm seeing is like the fear I see that I hold within me is just the speed at which they are running this race, and that there's just nobody holding them back. That's all I see.
Well, there were 2 women holding some of them back, and they got fired for it. So that's
actually, before let me jump to that story. It's a good segue. My favorite business news headline of the week so far that supports our mission at Free Float. Mark Zuckerberg donated $500 million to Harvard for AI, right? Then,
so far I don't like it.
Then a disinformation research project was shut down, according to a whistleblower. A prominent scholar at Harvard who left Harvard in August has accused the school of dismantling her disinformation research team. That's Joan Donovan. That's the woman who claims that once Mark Zuckerberg gave that money, she was done. Her project was out.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait,
that
is
doesn't
that
surprise
causal?
you, right?
Yeah, but is that causal?
Well, that's according to a lawsuit, I guess. I don't know what this is.
Harvard has a lot of other things to deal with. Worrying about disinformation is like so over there and so yesteryear. We are dealing with making sure that every student who said anything about Hamas at any point in their entire lives, their full records are online so that no one will ever hire them for their entire lives themselves. That's what we're busy worrying about.
And finally, in my favorite business news headline of the week so far that supports our mission at Free Float Part 2, head of climate conference who happens to be an oil CEO says, actually, fossil fuels are fine.
Yeah,
This is a man in our database. That's Sultan Al Jaber, CEO of Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. He said this at COP28 of all places. He said, quote, "There is no science out there or no scenario out there that says the phase out of fossil fuel is what's going to achieve 1.5. Of course, you're referring to the 1.5 centigrade.
us boiling on the planet. Yeah.
Adding that he refused to be part of an alarmist discussion. He said this at COP28.
COP28, yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't the discussion that's the whole discussion?
It's the whole discussion. According to the Global Oil and Gas Exit List, a public database that keeps track of the activities of oil and gas ventures, the Al Jaber-led state oil company, that's Abu Dhabi National Oil Company, at which he's CEO, has far and away the biggest plans to expand oil and gas production in the world. So this is why I'm going to repeat that it's probably good to know who your CEOs and directors are.
Look, if you're at COP28 right now, you are participating in the largest gaslight in the history of climate change.
But, no pun intended. But this one is even for a COP conference. This one's extraordinary. No, forget the other 27 ones. This is the true winner of all gaslighting. No,
but haven't we gotten to the place where it's like it's a living joke? The number of people who are attending, flying all over the world.
I read 70,000. Is that possible? 70,000 people flew into?
By a fucking oil executive who says that it's alarmist to talk about phasing out fossil fuels because there's no science. Like everything about it, the joke's on us at this point. The joke is on us. You should be sitting home on Zoom calls talking about actually doing stuff rather than going and flying so that another oil baron can make a buck.
Another reason why the fact that as shareholders and investors that we only managed to vote out 0.2% of directors every year.
0.2%.
I mean, really, what are we waiting for? Seriously, what are we waiting for? Understanding who sits on these boards and what they stand for, or what their performance is in carbon reduction, as an example, right?
It's a great point, because if we're going to talk,
what are we waiting for?
You don't have to. You can't. If you're outraged at the fact that a oil baron said stuff about oil being good at COP28, go look at the data that shows that the vast majority of directors suck at carbon reduction. They have no history of it.
It's important.
And you keep re-electing them to the boards
without any due diligence, without spending any time trying to understand not only who they are, but what their value is to maybe what your values are, for instance.
And then what are you going to do? You're going to yell at them about not reducing enough carbon?
Who exactly are you yelling at? When you post something on LinkedIn or wherever you post upset about the state of the world and climate, who exactly are you mad at? I don't
know, but it's not the right people, because the data says who it is.
All right, what do you got, Matt? Come on.
I like that segment. I like that.
Maybe I'll repeat it never.
You got a little fired up. Okay,
that's the cheap coffee, yeah.
Look, I have basically 3 stories to cover.
I like that.
The first of which is the story that no one asked for and no one cares about at all.
Is the show over?
we should end it here, but it is an update on SBTi,
Ooh.
the Science-Based Targets Initiative. This is the organization that was chosen through a process by the Biden administration to effectively help the government set carbon targets and then verify that they hit those carbon targets.
Okay.
They had another hearing because you know what everybody needs? A hearing. Like, can the Republicans get enough of hearings?
Hearing.
And here was the title of this hearing. This happened November 30th, so just less than a week ago. The title was Missing the Target, CEQ's Meritless Selection of SBTi.
Oh, boy.
I'm pretty sure that's a leading title. I'm
Yes.
not sure that they're giving, like, aren't you supposed to have a hearing to find out facts, not name the hearing, the facts that you want to be the outcome of the hearing? Like, this is...
That's too old school, Matt.
They named it the Meritless Selection of SBTi. Well, so I won't bore you with the details of the hearing. Suffice it to say that a 35-year-old former aide to Trump, who's now a House rep, who said that Israel should turn Gaza into a parking lot, is blaming a nonprofit, SBTi, that sets mediocre carbon targets. He's saying that they are a major risk to the entire military. Here's his quote.
Whoa.
The most at risk for negative impacts from this rule is our military and combat readiness.
What?
Effectively, by using SBTi to set carbon targets, which is all they do, our military and our combat readiness dead, gone. In fact, quote, this is not hyperbole. When you say something's not hyperbole, isn't it then hyperbole? Like, aren't you just prefacing the
Absolutely.
hyperbole? This is not hyperbole. The lives of Americans at home and abroad could be jeopardized because of the political gamesmanship this rule is pushing. By selecting the Science-Based Targets Initiative, we are jeopardizing the lives of Americans, is what he's saying.
This is a man, Matt, whose background, his career consists of either being in the military or working at a Lululemon store in Ohio.
I think he did do that for a little while.
No, I'm
Yeah,
serious. This is the background of this congressperson that you're referring to.
I know.
Yeah.
That's what qualifies.
But this
him
is
to
what
talk
gives
about
him the expertise to weigh in on this matter. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he's on the environmental committee of the
Crazy,
House,
right?
like,
It's
is
a
crazy
troll. It's
already,
crazy.
right?
Yeah.
Like we're just making fun of everything. But the good guys did weigh in, and by the good guys, I mean Bill Bowie, who I've talked about on this show. I nominated him once as Asshole of the Week. I've now met and spoken to Bill Bowie about his stuff. He wrote another letter to castigate the witness at who showed up for this hearing, because the witness said they went through a process to choose SBTi, and Bowie was arguing that the process was stupid. There are other organizations and there are better things. It turns out that the process that was used to choose to select SBTi wasn't even done by Andrew Mayock, the witness's organization. He had nothing to do with it. Someone else chose it. They weren't chosen as a witness, so they picked a guy they could all yell at, including Bill Bowie, who's looking for better, like a better. He's perfect. He's made the perfect the enemy of the good. And the two Republicans who are running this charade, one of whom had a third of his donations come from oil and electric utilities, and the other of whom got most of his money from the Club for Growth, which is billionaires, and a handful of car dealerships. I'm sure they're very carefully attuned to the fact that there's a better carbon standard out there, not SBTi.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're probably not EV car dealers, I'm guessing.
No. So that's update number one.
Okay.
There's a very good chance that SBTi now, the whole rule is going to get stalled out. There won't be any procurement that sets carbon targets. They're trying to stall this whole thing out. They repeatedly call SBTi a foreign company. It's a nonprofit. The fact that
a foreign company
as a foreign company. Like
what is, yeah. I'm scared already.
Agent.
Yeah, it's like Godzilla coming from Japan.
So that's your SBTi update that no one anywhere asked for at all.
Well, don't worry.
That's right.
I have the producer just whispered in my ear that we'll be editing that out of the podcast.
Thank God for that. We can't edit it out of the live stream, unfortunately. Next update is the anti-woke.
Ooh.
They have not left the building. In fact, they are trying this tactic, which is, it's a continuation of Elon Musk's tactic, which is you need to ban who we say you ban, not who you want to ban, because the First Amendment says that you ban who we say, not who you want.
I'm already lost. Okay.
23 attorneys general penned a letter to ISS and Glass Lewis calling discrimination because ISS and Glass Lewis have almost uniformly, their advice has been to vote against the debanking proxies.
Okay. Was that what? Tell me more about that.
So the National Policy Research
Legal Center process,
of, the anti-woke. They just put national policy and legal in 5 different configurations, call it an organization. They have been sending in shareholder proposals at company after company saying to all the banks, saying you are discriminating against people who want accounts on religious grounds, which you cannot do. You can't say these people can't open an account. So we want to report about how you're debanking religious organizations.
Sounds very ESG-ish of them.
It is.
It sounds like liberal activism. Sounds like nuns.
Well, it sounds like a nun would come up with this.
Yeah.
In fact, the nuns don't seem to have a problem getting a bank account.
I was going to ask who exactly is not getting a bank account based on religious, but I don't really want to get into it.
Well, I did pull one, and
go
it
ahead.
was the National Committee for Religious Freedom. This is in the letter.
Is that an actual, that sounds like a political organization. Is that an actual religious organization?
It actually is a political organization that effectively lobbies for religious organizations. This is in the letter. This is in the letter. Quote, debanking is also targeting religious and conservative groups. For example, Chase allegedly debanked the National Committee for Religious Freedom after demanding its donor list. So here's what happened, and here's what the attorneys general are angry about.
I just like when you say attorneys general. It makes you sound like you went to school.
Yeah, right. Chase came up with this idea that when a nonprofit who does religious lobbying and all that kind of stuff will not produce its donor list to find out whether there's terrorists or Russian oligarchs on that list, they can't open up a bank account. But the attorneys general think that when they don't open up the bank account, if it's a religious organization that they like, that's discrimination. That's, in a nutshell, what's happening here.
So it sounds like some strange cherry picking.
It's amazing cherry picking. I think it's the greatest cherry picking. In fact, they out themselves as having no idea what ISS and Glass Lewis do, in the 3rd paragraph of the letter, which says, we have expressed deep concern that ISS and Glass Lewis are prioritizing certain environmental, social, and governance initiatives.
Oh, there it is. ESG,
ESG. And that doing so violates your contractual and statutory duties to issue advice consistent with your responsibilities as a fiduciary.
Wait, but that's not what's happening at ISS and Glass Lewis.
Yeah, that's correct. That's not what they do at all. They're not fiduciaries.
I mean, I think that phrase has been emblazoned into their pea brains, and they now think that this is what everyone's doing, right? That everyone is picking the wrong stocks based on the fact that they hate white people? Is that what's happening? I don't even know what's going on anymore.
They go on to say, to comply with federal and state law and its contract obligations, ISS and Glass Lewis must give sound proxy advice.
Well, what does that even mean?
Yeah, correct. What does that mean? What are we even talking about?
It's completely it's completely subjective which way you go on a proxy vote, right? There's no right or wrong from any point of view.
And then their legal argument follows thusly: ISS and Glass Lewis may be violating their legal duties by opposing transparency and debanking proposals. So the answer here...
Okay, now I'm confused, yeah.
The attorneys general are basically saying ISS and Glass Lewis should not be allowed to oppose these proxies. That's what they're saying. These proxies.
Whoa, they're not even allowed to. Oh, so they're not even allowed to recommend. And again,
cannot recommend.
Let's be really clear here. ISS and Glass Lewis are at its core, they're essentially making a recommendation on how
That's
to
all
vote
they
your
do.
proxies, right? They
That's all they
can't force a single person that I know of. Maybe their sons and daughters they can force to vote a certain way.
Not even them. Who listens to
Probably
this?
not. They can't actually force anyone to vote their proxies. It's a recommendation.
They must know that, first of all, the shareholder
they don't
proposals
know.
they're talking about
don't know.
occupy less than 1% of shareholder proposals and really only target the top 50 companies in the entire United States, right? So we're talking about 50 companies get the vast majority of the, it's almost nothing. And then they're going on to say that if you oppose the proxies that we like, you are not doing your fiduciary duty as not fiduciaries. This is the most confusing and terrible thing. But that's the update. That's what they're up to.
All right.
Writing more letters.
Good for them.
And finally,
Sounds like they're really protecting the people of their states. That's what I'm going to say.
Someone's got to.
Yeah. Forget about all
finally.
the telemarketing scams. Let's just go right after debanking the National Committee for Religious Freedom.
That's right. That's right.
That's probably affecting the citizens of Texas in a way that really hurts them day to day.
It turns out, actually, that same organization, their founder is Sam Brownback. He's an senator or
from Kansas, I believe.
Congressperson from Kansas, who was Trump's head of religious freedom, that make-believe position.
Head of religious freedom.
Remember that thing?
Yeah.
Finally, I want to bring this up.
All right. I like when you say finally, by the way.
I know, that's your favorite part of all of my segments.
Of everything.
A landmark report was issued.
Ooh.
Are you ready for this?
I guess. If it's landmark, I am. Not if it's just a report.
And AT&T dropped its political congruency report. Can you believe it?
No, I honestly can't believe this.
Good for them.
I looked into this briefly, and I know you'll have more to say, but Matt, this is a shareholder proposal that didn't even pass. They didn't even get a majority support on this. I don't know what the hell's going on at AT&T that they did this.
In 2022, As You Sow, vaguely a friend of the show, filed a shareholder proposal looking for a report on, quote, political congruency, which is actually a term that the anti-woke have adopted and put into theirs, saying they're looking for political congruency.
Well, again, it's all just data. Do with it what you will. I don't care.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Yeah.
The proposal basically was looking to see how a company's donations to Congress and political elected officials matches with what they say they want in their values. That's all they were looking for. So,
I would not have wanted to be the person at AT&T that got assigned to write that report.
It only got 44% support last year. It didn't pass, but it must have gotten negotiated because AT&T dropped it. You can
I'm
read
shocked.
the report yourself.
AT&T, I applaud you, AT&T, for doing this. I don't know how much actual information is in the report, but I applaud you because Matt, still, let's not forget, even if it had gotten 68% support, it's still not a binding proposal.
No, they don't have to do anything.
Nothing is binding. Nothing.
Well, here's what the report effectively says: they took every single vote on an issue by people that they backed, and they said, did it align with AT&T's stance, partially align with AT&T's stance, or not align with AT&T's stance?
I'm already getting confused. Yeah.
Okay. The only thing now, just wrap yourself in this confusion. The only thing where there was significant non-alignment.
Significant non-alignment.
I don't know. I'm just throwing out terms. So I'm just making it up as I go. Where AT&T had one stance and the votes went in a different direction for people that they backed.
AT&T's values, its stated values had
their
one
stated values.
Okay, got it.
One thing that they had values on where the votes did not go towards AT&T's values. 47% of votes on the U.S. economy and growth did not align with AT&T's values.
Wait, votes? What do you mean votes?
The votes of their elected officials that AT&T backed did not align with AT&T.
I'm so confused. Okay. But this is according to AT&T, right?
So there's the level of pointlessness of this is actually shocking. I love As You Sow, but like I don't know what to do.
No,
with
I
this
disagree.
information
I disagree.
at all.
Because maybe as we start to get more companies to release these reports, maybe we'll start to understand what the hell's going on.
I'm talking
a bit
about
more.
the methodology of the report.
No, I know.
If I were As You Sow, I'd go back to AT&T and be like, what do I do with this exactly? This doesn't tell me anything.
But to As You Sow's, to their benefit, this type of progress is slow, right? I mean, the first report's going to suck.
Yeah,
that's how these things go. Imagine the first baseball player. I bet he sucked at baseball. But now we have people like Derek Jeter. See how old I am? I can't think of a baseball player.
Yeah, that's right.
Younger than Derek Jeter.
Derek Jeter is the best you can come up with.
Yeah.
But like,
who watches baseball anymore? Come on, other than Doug Cha.
Here's the thing. It's like
Aaron Judge.
No.
All right, keep going. I'm sorry.
I think that's still 100 years old.
I'm distracting myself. Keep going.
There was one bill apparently, and they looked through who voted on the U.S. Economy Stability and Growth Bill, which was H.R. 5376. So this is a Republican-led House that voted on this bill, and it did not go according to AT&T's stance on economic growth.
Okay.
So what does that even mean? What is
that? It means to me that when you're 47% misaligned with an economic growth bill, to me it means that corporations probably just give a little bit of money to everybody.
There we go.
Everything kind of falls in the middle because they don't know who they want to lobby for what, so they're just throwing cash around. Because this is how our democracy just seems to work these days.
That's exactly the takeaway.
This is why, once again, why you might want to know not only who the CEO of AT&T is, but who is on the board, right? You might want to know these things.
That approved all these donations.
In fact, AT&T is a good board to know, Matt, because the company might actually be listening to shareholders according to the fact that they released this report in the first place.
That's an excellent point. You can get that data at our sponsor, freeflowanalytics.com. Go sign up. It's free, people. You can pay to get like a full data suite, but get the free one and just look, because it's fascinating. That was Hazelnut Rawlis. I am your analyst, Matt Viscardi. We are Free Float. We'll be back on Friday to wrap up the week. And look, if you want more of these shows, if you want us to go back to doing 3 a week, tell Damien. Because Damien? Yeah, tell Damien. Damien will do it. He'll make it happen.
Yeah, I'm ready.
And we have a proxy show coming very soon. We're still in beta testing. It's getting better and better. It's called Proxy Countdown. Look out for that soon. Until then, goodbye.